welcome to ShopTalk, the podcast built to unlock union strength through collaborative discussion. Our aim is to have a naturally flowing conversation on relevant union issues, events, and topics. For our first series, each episode will be a dialogue with this year's election candidates. We will strive to cover enough topic areas to give voters a sense of who the guests are as individuals and who they will be as union leaders. Thank you for joining.
Hello and welcome to Shop Talk. I'm your co-host, Frank Perry.
Hey, and I'm Robert Bays.
Well, before we get to our guest today, I gotta address the elephant in the room, Robert. What's up with this hair, man? It's really out of control. It's taking up half the screen here. Tell me what's going on.
Well, due to the unfortunate nature of some of our previous contracts that we've signed, we have a lot of workers who are living right on the edge and the margins, and that 10% pay cut that we took stopped them from, luxuries like getting a haircut and other essentials. And so they really took a hit. So I decided to stand in solidarity with those people and not get a haircut until our pay is restored. And so I know I look different than my flyer, but that's the reason.
Okay. Thank you. Like I said, it was taking up a lot of room. So now we know. So today we're here to have a discussion with this week's
luxuries,
guest.
like getting a haircut and other essentials. And so they really took a hit. So I decided to stand in solidarity with those people.
Technical glitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
About that.
So moving on. So today we have a guest on our second episode, and today we're happy to have a conversation with Mr. Richard Lewis Brown. Richard is a Local 1000 steward from DLC 788, and he's running for the statewide president of Local 1000. DLC 788 covers areas of downtown Sacramento. Richard has been a member of Local 1000 since July of 2010, and shortly thereafter, a hardworking steward representing our members since August of 2010. He's currently a civil servant for the California Debt and Investment Advisory Commission, and we're happy to have him on today's show. So welcome to the show, Richard.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, let's jump right in here. I think I'll tee up the first question that I have for you is, what does the word union mean to you?
Well, the word union means to me is a group of people working in unison for enforceable legal contract, guaranteed wages, safe working conditions, substantial wages, should I say, and safe working conditions for a specified period of time. And it's legally enforceable. That's what the word union means to me in a sense, as regards to public sector unions or even a private sector union. But I've always looked at a union as a group of people, like-minded, working together to ensure that they have substantial wages and that they're treated with fairness and respect in the workplace here in America. That's what unions mean to me.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. What was your first experience with unions? Were you a young kid? Were you a grown man when you first kind of learned what a union was about and really it started to pique your interest?
Well, I'm from Missouri. In Missouri, we have unions. And I had relatives in my family that worked for Chrysler. And I remember one of my aunties, they went on strike in the 80s, and they were on strike for a few years. And I asked her how she felt about that. She said, I support my union. We're fighting for better benefits and better wages. And so, and I had other friends who were fortunate enough, their parents were part of the post office, which had a union. And then if they were really fortunate, I had friends who had parents at Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
Yes. And they had a union, a good union. And they had substantial wages. So some of my friends, their parents were not educated.
Mm-hmm.
Some barely had a high school education. Like my auntie who made it to Chrysler, she didn't have a high school education. So the unions really enabled people to put their kids, if they chose to, through college and enable not just the middle class to help create the middle class, but it helped the working poor to be able to buy homes and, and be able to afford their mortgages because they were getting, substantial wages.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always, I grew up with the idea that unions were good, and I never let that go. And even when I went to Arizona State University, ASU, Tempe, Arizona, and I was in business school, I remember losing a friendship with a person who was a relative of the Wright family. And she came from money. She lived in Scottsdale. And basically we lost a friendship because I was arguing with the teacher against Walmart. And they all knew that, I was Black, I was a Democrat, I was pro-union, and I was arguing with the teacher that I didn't agree with Walmart because they didn't allow their people to unionize. They fought everything, they would do everything possible to keep their workers from unionizing so they could get a substantial pay increase, because they knew if the workers unionized, then they'd have to pay not just retiree benefits, but healthcare.
Right.
And they'll have to increase the wages, which means maybe Walmart could not always be the low cost provider. And so Walmart has this huge legal team that they've been able to fight off unionization in all the states. Mm-hmm. And that the federal government basically has said, Walmart is so big and so powerful, we don't want to get involved. And so that's another, so when they were teaching us in business school, they were teaching us that business philosophy, which Robert knows about, but it's taught from the, maximize shareholder perspective. And the shareholder perspective historically in America has been, let's just be honest, older, wealthy, white men. And so the shareholders are a small group of people, and you're trying to maximize their money. And one of the big things in the business department is you can't maximize the company's money. You've got a union walking around, and every couple of years you got to negotiate wages, and they're acting crazy and acting like Lewis Brown, and they're going to go on strike, and they want a 21% pay increase, and blah, 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 blah. That's not going to, the shareholders are not trying to hear all that.
Right.
So I lost that friendship, and I've lost other friendships because I'm pro-union.
Pro-union. So you grew up in Missouri. You see unions all around you. You named a few of them. Being good ones, Budweiser being the best one, it sounded like, in the area. And so you were instilled with that, you grew up with that, you took that to college with you. But then we see that you started your first job at EDD in Oakland, right? And so I guess the question to
San Jose.
What? San Jose. Sorry. So I guess the question to you then is, did you seek out a union job? Did the state job just show up and it happened to be a union job? Or was that your intent the whole time, to seek out a union job after college? Or how did you end up at EDD in San Jose?
I started EDD San Jose June 8th, 7 days before my 40th birthday, June 8th, 2009. And I became friends with someone in my training class, and she spoke to me about the union. She said, the union's having a little get together, because it was during that furlough fiasco situation with Schwarzenegger. She said, you should come with me. And I said, okay. She said, how do you feel about unions? And I said, I'm fine with unions. I'm pro-union. But she didn't know how serious I was about that. She had just met me. So she asked me to go, and then she decided she wanted to be a job steward. She said, I don't want to do this by myself. I'm getting some of my coworkers to sign up on this petition for me. She said, I'm going to go to Oakland for a weekend. Would you come with me? And I wasn't doing anything. And I said, okay, sure. She seemed like she was really nice. So someone asked me to basically join the union, go to the meeting, join the union. And at that time, you were paying 99 point some percent anyways. So a few pennies more, you're just a regular member. I believed in voting, so I became a member. It wasn't a big deal. And then we became job stewards after we had passed our probation. We had to pass we had a 1-year probation as an EPR. So we became job stewards a couple months later. We got 25 to 30 signatures of our coworkers on our worksite. What the LAPS program had been created then.
Okay.
That's
So
how
you didn't seek out the state job because it was a union job then.
No, I was putting in for state jobs because I was living in Sacramento, and I ended up getting a state job in San Jose. So I had to relocate to San Jose because at that time jobs were hard to come by. In the between 2007 up to 2011, 2012, jobs are hard to come by in the state of California. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you became a steward, and nowadays we see you're really active with the union. Your voice is out there, your name is out there. How did you get to the point, where you become a steward to now just being so active in the union? Like, when did you make the conscious decision that you saw something wrong maybe, or you saw there was a lack of something and you needed to put your voice out there? Tell us about that process.
It's very simple. I got a promotion to come to the Treasurer's Office to work for the California Debt and Investment Advisory Commission, May 2011. At that time, Governor Jerry Brown wanted to take another day's pay from us. He wanted to do a 2012 POP. And that's when I became outspoken. I said, we give up 1 day's pay, the 2010 POP, for that contract to get signed. The 2010 to 2013 contract. Now, under this signed contract, you're supposed to be a Democrat. You're supposed to be union friendly, and you're asking us to give up another day's pay? That's wrong. We have a signed contract. Honor our contract. Just that simple. Mm-hmm. But I was serious. And no one thought I was serious. And I questioned Yvonne Walker on video, on the town hall video in, I believe, early June of 2012. Mm-hmm. But no one thought I was serious. But I'm a serious type person. That's it. I'm trying to keep my answers short and tight so you can just run through all your questions.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. And you're welcome to expound upon anything you would like. Definitely here to get that from you, right? Hear these things from you. So that's really cool that you decided to become a steward. I think that an interesting thing about stewardship is that a lot of people, see that stewards spend a lot of time, energy, effort. Sometimes they're even forced to use their own money and resources, right, to further our cause, for the collective, right, for all of us. In that regard, some people say that, yeah, it's a volunteer position. These are just altruistic, good people. Some people say, hey, no, like they should be getting some sort of stipend, or they should this or that or the other. But I think the simple question I have kind of for you is, besides what is your overall feeling on all that, I think the more direct question would be, do you think like stewards should have to pay union dues, for example? Should stewards be required to pay union dues if they're giving all this time, energy, and effort out to help everyone else out?
So, I'm on record. Everyone represented by Local 1000 should be able to vote in union elections and contract ratifications, and they should be job stewards. And they should not be forced to pay money to vote. And you can't be a job steward unless you're a member. So I'm already on record for saying that. Now, we know we need money to run Local 1000. So I've always asked people, yes, we need you to become members, but you should not be required to pay money to vote and be a job steward. Second part, the salary stipends. Everyone knows that I've been against these salary stipends hot and heavy for the statewide officers. What people have forgotten is I took part of the 2015 recall, and I was doing a video yesterday where I talked about it, and I showed the paper. My name's the first name on that 2015 November recall of Yvonne Walker for trying to get the salary stipend, because this is a volunteer position. When you're in the union, you're getting your regular salary when you're on full-time union leave. You don't need any extra money, and then the union gives you a company credit card anyway. So I'm against the salary stipend for statewide officers. So we tried to recall her, we were unsuccessful. And then when she got her salary stipend in June of 2016, in a 24-hour marathon session in LA, I led a recall. I took action and I led a recall because it showed that I was passionate and I strongly disagreed with the 4 statewide officers getting salary stipends. And for a side note, many people don't know, when she first ran in 2008 to be elected Local 1000 president, Yvonne Walker campaigned saying that she was against the salary stipend that the CSEA president, Perry Kinney, was receiving. But once she got in a position of power, then she went into money. I upheld to my word that I'm against the salary stipends for statewide officers. This is a volunteer position. We're paying your regular salary. You get the company credit card. And I have chastised the members of Transparency and Change, called Unite Members for Change, because they stated they were also against the salary stipend. And then when they got elected, they took the money. And so my passion for the union is strong. And that's why I'm so passionate and I'm against these salary stipends, because it causes dissension. You're getting your regular salary, you get the company credit card, all your expenses while you're on union leave is paid for by the union out of our dues. You don't need a salary stipend. And it's just that simple.
What about, so focusing on like the steward aspect of that? I guess the reason you hear chatter about it is that how do we attract more stewards, right? How do we get more people involved, more people running? I mean, we look at we're in election season, right? Obviously, you know that. But we see all this list of uncontested, right? And there's the uncontested is tenfold what the contested is. And
Right.
Is it we don't have enough stewards to contest these positions? Do we not have, is there not enough incentive? Do people not want to be the DLC president? Because then that means that they got to give cash-free loan, interest-free loans to the local in order to run operations in the DLC. So I guess when we talk about, hey, not necessarily even a stipend for the stewards, but maybe a reduction in dues or something. What are we doing for our stewards? Because at the end of the day, I think it's very plain for everyone to see that we have strong stewards, but we need a stronger steward network, and we need something to incentivize people to want to volunteer for their union, right?
Well,
do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Like, where are we at?
No, the point that you're making those are great points. And a lot of people bring that up. So when you mentioned that I'm running for Local 1000 president, one of my first platform point is about getting out of politics. And a lot of times you can't attract people because you're in politics that support the Democratic Party. And as you've heard me state religiously, half our union are non-Democrats. And so you're missing all of that revenue. So when you talk about incentivizing, my great idea of reducing dues by 50% is trying to really drive up membership, not drive away membership. So if we can reduce the dues by 50%, get out of divisive politics, bring our non-members back. And this is where I was saying about allowing everyone the ability to vote and be job stewards. We will always have job stewards because everybody's a job steward, and give them online training to become a job steward. But I put up my brochure here. There was something else that I stated in here about eliminating the salary stipends. And more importantly, those time requirements, saying in order to run for statewide office, you have to be a dues paying member and a job steward for 2 years. See, all that is hindrance. And when I did the video this morning and I talked about the lives of Local 1000, that LAPS program was created as a hindrance. Because remember, I told you I became a job steward by getting signatures of my coworkers who vouched for me. I went to one weekend, then I was a job steward. Now, they created the LAPS program because they said we can create better stewards. They used the rational argument. We can create better stewards, more equipped stewards by creating this LAPS program. But what their real motive was, they wanted to control who became job stewards. And so what they did is they created the LAPS program. They decide who becomes job stewards. If you're a political activist, then they're not going to sign off on you on being a job steward. So they're silencing the opposing voices within the union. And by this silencing of these opposing voices in the union, you continue the status quo. So when you say, how do we attract more stewards? If they can't get past the lapse program, and then the perception that our union doesn't do anything because of the status quo, then you're basically keeping things the way they are. So you won't attract more job stewards unless they support politics and they support your agenda. And that's why if you get out of politics, because our country is deeply divided on so many issues right now, and to be honest, we don't know when our country is really going to ever, I don't know, 10, 15 years, 20 years, really come together as a group, as a country again. It's going to be a while. So for Local 1000 to have done all these things over the years, we have to get out of politics so we can encourage people and take away all the time requirements. Let everyone vote. Let everyone become a job steward. In the state treasurer's office where I work in downtown Sacramento, I work for one of the commissions, the California Debt Investment Advisory Commission. I am the only job steward in that building. And people ask me, don't you get tired of running around trying to defend people? Yes. Do you get paid extra money for that? No. No one told me to do all that work. No one told me to be a job steward. I think in a sense, when you're a job steward, you're really showing, I hate to say this word, but you're showing love. And you're showing it through service of helping others in need. So, I don't know if that really answers your question, but by reducing the dues, getting out of politics, letting everyone vote and become job stewards, everyone become job stewards. Because if you look at this, when management writes us up, when they try to run us into the ground with your bad management, they always have two bosses and they call somebody from HR and they all gang up on you. We should have everyone as a job steward in that building so you can choose who do you want by your side. Imagine if everybody in our unit was a job steward and management was trying to make us do something we didn't want to do, and we're all job stewards, and we all come together and say, we're not doing that. But that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. And maybe, the way I'm talking to you, oftentimes on Facebook, I don't talk like this. But, you're talking to me and we're having a matter of fact conversation. And, that's just my opinion.
You talk a lot about inclusivity. You haven't said the word, but a lot of your message is about inclusivity, is about taking away barriers from people joining the union, getting out of politics and things like that. Is that going to be, when you become president, is that a major goal of your presidency, is to include more people? And because there's a lot I feel like I hear a lot of stewards saying, if you're not with the linked up with certain people, you kind of get pushed out of the conversation and you don't have a voice in the union. So is it going to be a major aim of your presidency to include as many people that want to work for the union and want to help the union?
What I like, you use such a great word. Absolutely. If you remember, I had a Facebook Live a few weeks ago and Robert came on. And after that, he sent a challenge to me and I accepted the challenge. When I embrace the union, that means I'm going to embrace whoever's elected vice president. And they're going to stay on full-time union leave just like me. I'm not going to be insecure and try to minimize them and minimize the will of the voters, because I want everyone to feel like they're a part of something. See, in our country, a lot of times you find out about people. A lot of people tell you that they're this and they're that. But actions speak louder than words. And even though people say that I haven't shown any actions, and I've told you about 2 different recalls that I was part of, strong actions, I've done other things. But my strongest action is the fact that I'm not a hypocrite. I want everybody in our union to feel respect. I don't care if you're a Republican, Green Party, Independent, Libertarian. Everyone should be able to be part of our union and run for office any given time. And there should be no time requirements. Listen to this. Our contract represents over 96,000 people. That contract doesn't say only for dues paying members. It says for everybody. So as a Black man in America, I tell you, I want you to respect me. I don't want you to find me as being inferior. I don't want you to think that I'm angry and I'm always resisting and fighting. I want you to respect me. But I have to respect you. I say I want you to include me in on your decision making, but I want to include you on my decision making because I'm not a hypocrite. So you're going to see a lot of hypocrisy in our union. They'll tell you that unions for all. That's the slogan from SEIU International in DC. Unions for all, retirement security for all. But they're hypocrites because they don't want to include you in the ability to vote and become a job steward unless you pay them money. That's the hypocrisy of the party I belong to, the Democrats. But I'm not a hypocrite. If I wanted you to treat me with full respect and dignity, then I must treat you with full respect and dignity. It's just that simple. Nothing more, nothing less. So, yeah, I want to include everybody. I want to unify our union. I want everybody to pay dues, but half off.
Do you feel like you've done that?
Well, I've addressed the fact that white non-Democrats are being discriminated against. And it's unfortunate that a woman who happens to be Black has gotten away with this discrimination over the years. This is hypocrisy. So I've been communicating this message in my campaign. Now, you know, right now in our country, white people are kind of in a situation where if they say anything wrong, and I'm not talking about the ones who are, quote, overt racist. I'm talking about anything that could be considered racist, white people will be screamed at and yelled at and made to feel ashamed of who they are. And I think that's wrong. So what I try to do in my campaign is I try to say, look, we're going to embrace everybody. And we're not going to silence your voice. See, they try to tell you that the Republicans are trying to destroy unions. What they don't tell you is, you and I both know, Robert and Frank, CHP, the firefighters, Peace Officers Union, oh, I'm going to put it $100 on the line. 90% of them are Republicans.
They got a strong union.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, they're strong.
Right.
You don't cross them. So, you know, when you look at things and you want to be, you know, unbiased and judge things straight down the line, you want to include everybody because you're going to get a variety of opinions. And you and I, Robert, know we got a lot of Republicans in that business school, and they'll let you know quick if you ain't getting that money right. But I'm a conservative Democrat, so I agree with them oftentimes on the money, but I still believe in unions. You need that diverse opinion in our union. And the fact that we don't enforce our contracts, which when it comes, in my opinion, to the non-Democrats, you don't enforce your contract, they will not mess with you.
Right.
And so
you hit on politics a little bit earlier, and that we have to get out of politics. I think right now you're bringing up some of these unions who have Republican members, but generally would stay out of politics, right, as a union, and they're strong. But where is that line drawn, that bright line, so to speak? I know I've heard several times that even today you saying no, absolutely no, you know, politics, nothing but enforcement of the contract, right? But I guess, where does that stop? So we see that we have, you know, an Amazon warehouse, right, that was trying to unionize.
yeah.
And so are we as a union, in your view, should we be talking about that stuff and using our platform as, you know, our union to say, hey, let's support these other unions and other unionizing and workers' rights efforts? Or in your view, is that considered politics and something outside of our contract, and we should just not comment on it, not talk about it, you know, avoid it because it's politics or whatever?
Well, that's a tricky question. And so what I would say is,
and I'm not trying to trick you. It's just,
no. But I like that question because it's a very deep question. I have said no politics, no racial justice, no social justice, any of that. We have a perception that we don't take care of our people. So in my personal opinion and my professional opinion, What they try to do in Amazon and Alabama, I wish they would have pulled it off. But I would have no comment if I was the president of Local 1000. If someone asked me, what do you feel about what's going on in Alabama? I would say I'm pro-union. So of course, I wish them nothing but success. But my only focus is that 10-point platform that I've guaranteed. And so I can't worry about what's going on in Alabama. I can't worry about what's going on with any other union in this world. I have been running my mouth about that 10-point platform and how I'm going to get it done. And I stated in point 1, no politics, and give Local 1000 staff retiree health care. And I run down the list. Now, I don't have time for nothing else, because you and I know when I'm elected president, within them first 60 days, 2 things will happen. I'll make US history or I'll get recalled. People don't really understand this, but I'm looking all the way down against everything that I have to do and all the battles I have to fight. And the only thing I'm trying to do is get everybody this 21% pay increase with GO pay and COLA. Some people say, Richard, you've lost your mind, you're on drugs. Some people say, oh, you really love us that much? And some people tell me it ain't enough. Robert, when people tell me the 21% is not enough for them and they want a special salary adjustment that's higher than that, and I tell them I can't tell them that, then I don't get their vote. You know, I don't have time to worry about politics or anything else, because I have to produce that 10-point platform or I'm going to get recalled. Well, they're going to recall me for trying to produce the 10-point platform, but get people to not want to sign that recall petition. They better see me 24 hours a day. The way I did all this talking in social media, when I win the election, they don't hear me talking the same way, and they're not able to see my actions. You know I'm done. You know I'm done. They are not going to. They'll let Yvonne Walker lie and manipulate, but they're not going to let Richard Lewis Brown do that. Oh no, I'm held to a higher standard. They are not letting me get away with anything that's fraudulent, anything that looks corrupt. If I don't verify my mouth and show you my actions that I want the best for you and your family, they will get me out of there. So no, we will not be involved in any type of politics. And you can tell how serious I am, because you know, well, you don't know, but there were African Americans in the Local 1000 who were mad as hell at me for going at Yvonne Walker and for saying that we shouldn't be involved in Black Lives Matter. Or they think that I'm just a sellout, that I don't care about my Black community. That is so far from the truth. And I sent a statement today on Facebook. If they want to air out our differences on Facebook on some Black on Black disagreement, pack a lunch. But in order to unify this union, we can't have these conversations about race, the border, immigration. That border immigration is such a hot button issue that when I talk to, make sure I get this right, Americans of Mexican descent, Mexican Americans, Mexicans from across the border, Latinos, Hispanics, and Chicanos, by the time they get done talking to me with all their different views, I don't want to get involved in that conversation. And I don't want us involved in this retirement security for all, even though it talks about our pension. Because here's the problem. You want to talk about retirement security for all in the state of California, but you won't even enforce our contract. So you're worried about everybody else out here in the community, but you're not even taking care of your own family. And so people in our union, they say, Richard, you talk a good game, but can you back up your mouth? That's why my 10-point platform is so direct. And as someone said, Richard, you're a revolutionary. They're right, I am. I'm a radical revolutionary, and I want to create something totally brand new. And so, the questions that you ask, these are deep questions, but I have to hold to my foundation. And as I told people, I have to hold to my contract. I cannot break my contract. So the questions you've asked me today and the questions you asked me when I did the Facebook Live, those are amazing questions, and you did your job. And I had to dig in deep, but people are watching me, and they want to know that the person they elect for Local 1000 president, they're going to do what they said they were going to do. And these other candidates, I'm the only candidate that says, you don't see me in purple. There's no purple on my website. There's no purple in my brochure. And, I can't stress this to you enough. I am not a slave to the Service Employees International Union in Washington, D.C. I'm just not. I'm a descendant of U.S. slavery. That's true. But I am not a current slave. And as long as our union is involved in politics, and people really hate when I say this, as long as the union is involved in politics, it won't matter who's your president or who your VPs are. I'm a firm believer that more than half our money is used on political expenditures. The last time they told us, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Richard, it sounds like, to kind of sum up a lot of what you're getting really deep into, is the union has lost focus on its main goal and its main job, right? Like they get distracted by politics, and they go in these different routes, and they spend money and they spend time, and that you want to refocus the union to, like when you talked about in the beginning, when you first learned what a union was, it was about securing money and security for your family so they could have a middle class lifestyle. And so you want to refocus the union to its core mission. And you also talk about enforcement. So my question is, you say, there's been a lack of enforcement by our union.
Right.
Probably on pay is probably what you're getting to. The big hot topic today is our pay has been cut 10%. Can you expand on the lack of enforcement by our union and maybe some other areas that you think they're also lacking enforcement beyond our pay? So
I'll try to say this a little quicker, and then I'll let you come back and then say it again what I said. But I have to, something you said just now caught my attention, because I'm big on words. Refocus to what's really important. The only thing that our union should be involved in: contract negotiations, job representation, nothing else. Other candidates say the primary, this should be what we should really be focused on. We need to get back to what we used to do. No, the only thing we should do: contract negotiations, job representation. The reason why we had a problem with our money not being enforced, our salaries, our pay increases not being enforced through our contract, the only reason, politics. The only reason why our contract was not enforced on our pay increases was because of politics. Now, some people would say there's other parts of our contract that are not enforced because of politics. Okay, I'll stop, and then I'll let you. I'll try to talk a little faster because I'm so calm right now. I'm getting somewhat long, so I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Well, no, yeah, I just wanted to know if there's any other areas that you think our union's lacking enforcement on, or other areas of our contract.
I've had people tell me about the sick leave, about the demonstrable pattern. Some agencies say, hey, you can miss up to 4 or 5 days. We're not worried about it. Other agencies say, if you miss more than 3 days in a row, bring us a doctor's note in. You can't get a straight answer. And then the strongest part of our contract, the dignity, our money and our dignity. In our dignity clause, CalHR, step 3 is the final decision maker. Well, how do you enforce that when they're the final decision maker of a person's dignity being violated by a egotistical, self-serving, bad-behaving boss? You don't. So, right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, right. But it was interesting that you said the strongest part of our contract, it was the dignity clause, but then we can't enforce it. So doesn't that make it the weakest part of our contract?
You're right. So what I'm saying is our money and our dignity in the workplace. And the dignity could be from the bad behaving bosses treating us bad. Our dignity could be violated for the fact that we have an unsafe working condition. COVID. So these two parts, the money and the dignity. Politics, they took the money from us. We gave up the money. And then our dignity, they've taken that from us too. So the two most important areas, should I say, the most important areas of our contract don't mean anything. The rest of the contract is nothing. If I can't get you your money like I promised you in writing on July 1st, 2020, 2.5%, 2% this year, and 2.5% July 1st, 2022, if I cannot give that to you the way I said I was going to do it, and then I can walk over you any way I want in the workplace, then what does our contract really mean? It doesn't mean anything. Now, the union does the pushback and say, well, you can always, if your boss is not treating you right, you can go through the EEOC, you can go to the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Here's the key to that. Those are federal agencies. I'm not paying them, I'm paying you. So if I'm paying you this money as my protection, when I'm having a problem, show up. Show up and be ready to fight for me. And don't let the state of California dictate any terms. That's my passion. That's my passion. Because I think that's what people want. They want, my campaign, people say this about me. They may not like what I say. They may not like how I say it. But here's the funny thing, Robert. If you was in a fight on a street corner and you had to call one of these candidates to come get you out, come save you, we got to go do some stuff. Who you calling? Who you calling? You think you're going to call Yvonne? Think she's going to show up? Do you think Miguel Cordova is going to show up and help you out? What about Tony Owens or Sophia Perkins? Do you think these people are coming to get you? No. People call me, man, come get me. I'm in trouble. I'm going to come get you. I ain't asking what you did. We talk about that after we're in a safe area. But I'm coming to get you. But our union doesn't have that image. And I hate to say that perception is reality, because there's a perception of how my people came over here that we were inferior. So perception is not always reality. But in this case with Local 1000, Robert and Frank, the perception is our union doesn't care. So when we were having that conversation a few weeks ago, and I'm like, you want this staff, you want to raise the level of service from our staff, you better give them retiree healthcare. I mean, if we, because here we are with our retiree healthcare, and we're walking around just bad.
Richard, can you give a little background on that? Because I think a lot of people don't know what you're talking about, and then you can kind of make your point.
Okay. I agree with you. I
think a lot of people don't know about that. So
here's the thing. Our staff at Local 1000, they're hired. Some of them are management. Some of them are rank and file. They're represented by UAW 23, I think it's 2350 or 2380. In their last contract, their retiree healthcare wasn't given to them. It was taken from them because our union said, we can't afford to pay you this retiree healthcare. Now, here we are, Local 1000, we have guaranteed retiree healthcare. But we're telling our staff who's fighting our battles for quality job representation, we're telling them they're not good enough for retiree healthcare. What bothers me about that is that is such clear-cut hypocrisy. I really, as I say on Facebook, I can't make up some of this stuff. We have it, but you can't have it. You know what that sounds like?
Not only do we have it and you can't have it, we actually have it and make you fight for us to have it. Right? That's what our staff is. Our staff we're saying, hey, we're hiring you to fight on our behalf for us to get retiree health care, because that's what all workers should have, because that's what being in a union means. However, you're not going to get it with your union. And so you're right. It's hypocrisy at its finest when it really comes down to upholding those union values, right? If we have union values and say, hey, we need to be treated a certain way and we're going to fight for that, and you're going to help us fight for that as our staff, we should be giving them that same treatment that we expect.
Right. And that's why I have it in my point one about the politics, because we want the staff to give us high quality representation. Fact is, they're overworked. There's not enough of them. And the fact is, a lot of these people are doing political work when they shouldn't be. They should not be doing any type of political type of work. But the fact that we don't give them retiree health care, this is a politician leading our union. Because remember, when they said we need to give up our money, 2 days of pay for 2 fiscal years because of the COVID crisis, those state legislators, Democrats and Republicans, had bipartisan support. They didn't give up anything. So they told you, give up your money, but they're not giving up their money, except for 5 of them, okay? And so it's the same thing in our union, because she values herself as a politician. Staff, do like I tell you to do. Be involved in politics outside of your regular job, but you're not getting retiree health care.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a thing. And, do we, I'm surprised they haven't been on strike against us yet. Really?
Well,
they probably have a no strike clause against them, right?
You know what? You're smiling. Hold on.
Do you know about? I'm just like, it's just,
no.
I'm smiling to stop from frowning or crying, because it's so crazy to me that we can expect a standard as a union and say, hey, all workers should be at this standard, and then we're not even meeting the old standard that we're setting. It's mind blowing.
No, it's an assault on our own core values that we supposedly are for.
Well, no, I agree with your smile, because it's such true hypocrisy. But my thing is, people in our union, our representative employees don't know what the staff is going through, because the staff can't tell you. They're not allowed to talk about it. You talked about them having a no strike clause. You're probably right. I haven't seen their contract, because they're not allowed to show us their contract.
What's their dignity clause look like?
Keep my mouth shut, because I hear things.
Sorry, I'm wiling out right now. So.
No. What you're saying is, you're saying common sense stuff. And so when I'm on Facebook and I'm quote wiling out, talking about the liar, the high schooler Yvonne Walker, and why I'm going at her so strong, this is just one quick example how she treats the staff. And so when people say the staff, they don't return my calls, they don't care about me, because their staff feels like Yvonne Walker doesn't care about them, but they need a job, so they took the job, and they're doing the best job they can do. But are they inspired to pursue greatness while defending us? Not when our leaders treating them the way she does. They're just not. But maybe I have failed to articulate that in my Facebook videos. But there's so many different issues in our union, but people want to know that we're going to enforce these contracts. They're going to get their pay increases, because, guys, I take calls from people every day. Richard, okay, now that you don't have to end the PLP because it's ended now, can you get that 2.5% that was promised to us on July 1st, 2020? Can you get us that money and get it retro paid? No, I can't. That silent agreement took all our power from us. Now, I was told through a rumor that they were trying to get that money paid retroactive. And this is what I told that person when they called me and told me that. I said, if Yvonne Walker can get that 2.5% from July 1st, 2020, if she can get that paid to us on July 1st of this year, retroactively, she'll get reelected. She'll get reelected. And Gavin Newsom will help. That will help Gavin Newsom, because now he'll be able to go to the union and get money from them to help him fight his recall. I can't make this up. And all the other SEIU locals in California, because they carry SEIU in front of their name, when they get the call from SEIU in DC saying protect Gavin, they're going to help protect Gavin. That's why I said, when people say we have to be involved in political activism, that's a lie. The only thing you need is a strike fund. And then you need people to agree. How fast can we build it? Can we pay 75 to 80% strike benefits? Because if you get hurt, SDI pays you 55%. If you get hurt on the job, you get, I think, 70 or 75%. So anywhere from 70 to 80%, if we can pay 70, 80% strike benefits, I can guarantee you we can shut the state down. I can guarantee you that. And we'll get everything we want. We won't have to give up anything. Because at a certain point, you've been given up, you've been taken from, destroyed, devastated, demoralized, with a loss of pay for all of these years. So at a certain point, enough is enough. And so when I come across animated and I'm going off on Facebook, the reason why I'm doing that is I'm trying to inspire people. Get up and vote. Nothing happens in this country without a vote. You can't convict someone of police brutality without a vote of the jury. It took a vote between the prosecution and the defense on who to put on the jury. Okay? It took a vote to put politicians in office so they can appoint judges. It takes a vote by Congress if we're going to go to war on another country. It took a vote when the Europeans came over. Hey, we don't need King George III. We don't need his leadership. It took a vote about having a civil war in this country. So when people are saying voting doesn't matter, and I'm not going to vote until we bound walkers out because our union isn't about anything, then what you're basically doing is you're saying you don't care, you've lost all hope, and that you are willing to accept the status quo. But I want you to hear, I'll end this point on this. We lost 3 days, 2 days with Schwarzenegger for a couple months. Then it went to 3 days. Jerry Brown, we lost 1 day, 2010. Then he came back under a signed contract, 2012, got another day. This governor got us 2 days in one fiscal year and was trying to get 2 more in the next fiscal year. What happens one day when they come and say, give us 3? It's already happened to us. It's easy. The 3 is not enough. Give us 4. The cost of living's gone up. Give us 4 days. Give us 5 days. I'm done. I try to say things 100 million different ways, and then you guys come back and say it's so much easier. I'm like, oh, these young people, they're killing me. But you're doing your job. You're saying it really quick, and I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Frank?
Yeah, we have a few minutes left here. Richard, is there, part of this was to have a conversation on union matters, and part of it was to give candidates the floor to say anything. Do you have any last thought or last topic area you want to touch on in the next 2-3 minutes here?
I'll simply say this. Frank, Robert, thank you for inviting me on. And I told you I'd be a man of my word. I would act accordingly. Some people don't think that I can act professional and hold my tongue, hold my emotions. But, when I go on someone's platform, I can act accordingly and I can act professional. Well, I acted professional enough to go die for the country. I'm professional enough to have over 800 credit score to show you I'm financially disciplined in my personal life. And I pay for my college education out of my pocket. So it shows you I have the professionalism to be financially disciplined. And even though I had no idea how I was going to get it done, I didn't have a detailed plan when I left the Midwest to come to the West, because I took a leap of faith because of my belief in God through Jesus Christ. So I didn't have all the answers, but I took that leap of faith. And then I had to, eventually figure it out and keep pursuing. And I'm the only candidate that has taken the leap of faith to be the most outspoken critic and activist of our union. And I haven't been afraid to go after the status quo. And I'm the only candidate that tells you we must get out of politics. But at the end of the day, no excuses. Voting matters. And as I tell people on Facebook, you don't have to vote for me, but I want to see a massive voter turnout so that people can say either we accept the status quo leadership of Yvonne or the people she's trained, or we're going way to the other direction. We're going to Richard Lewis Brown for president. It's just that simple. That's all. Thank you for your time.
We do appreciate you coming on to the platform. Everyone's invited. So anyone watching this, if you're a candidate, you're invited as well. And it takes a lot of courage to get on. I think that you have your own platform. All the candidates have a platform, and it's easy to control the narrative on your own platform, right? Invite people on, you can mute them, you can silence them, you can have a bad connection, but to have the courage to step out and say, hey, I'll open myself up to other people on their platform and let them ask me whatever. And maybe I get thrown off guard, or maybe I'm not prepared, or maybe it's a good question I hadn't thought of, or whatever. And making yourself vulnerable like that, I think, definitely is something that we appreciate. And I think that as members, right, and we would like to see all the candidates be willing to do stuff like that, because really, when we're talking about leading the head of a labor movement, it's a lot of work, and it takes the right person and the right character, and the best way for people to see that character and to see who you are as a person and where your heart is at is to have, go on a platform where people are going to ask you those questions, and you're going to talk about what they want to talk about, not necessarily what, you have teed up for the day on whatever, platform. So that big marks on you. And with that said, I guess to kind of ask a question, with that it is a lot of work. You have, if you end up winning, you have a marathon in front of you, right? You're in a marathon, you have a huge hill, coming up. And, it takes a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of cohesion and commitment from people. And some people say it's going to take a team, right? And you see every other candidate coming out. All the other candidates have slates. Tony Owens even announced that he endorsed the 3 candidates from the MTC slate.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, so he came out and endorsed Annika and Kevin and what's his name? Sorry, I'm blanking right now, but he endorsed those 3 candidates.
David Jimenez.
Yeah, David Jimenez. Yeah. So he endorsed those 3 candidates last night. So even he came out to show like, hey, it's not just me. It takes a team. Here's the people I trust. And so you're the last candidate, the only candidate who's against that. And I think that some people, kind of see that as, that you're not someone who can work with the team, that you're not, trying to you think that you can do this alone, that it'll be a dictatorship like Yvonne, because you only need you. That's all, that to be successful. And so do you have anything, I guess, to say, like, is there teammates that you want to bring up, DLC presidents you would like to see get elected that are going to help you get your 10-point platform, created, or VPs, or is there anything that, I guess you want to say to that whole thing?
That's a two-way street about running with slates, because I had someone call me yesterday and say, because I'm not running with a slate, I earned that person's vote. Because they said you have to be able to work with anybody. Mm-hmm. But I also respect the other argument. If you want to get something done, it would be nice if you and the 3 VPs were all unified. Here's the funny thing about this, Robert. People say that, I'm another Yvonne Walker. That's a racist statement, because they're taking one Black person and all the things she's done wrong, and they're attributing it to me because I'm a very strong alpha male. So you see a strong Black woman alpha male, and you see a strong Black man alpha male, so they say we're the same people. She tells you politics, I see no politics. She doesn't give you any type of transparency. I'm telling you, all of my behavior is going to be on tape. She tells you that the last program is the best thing coming. And I'm telling you, we're going to make everyone a job steward, and we're going to let everybody run, and we're going to have a clean and fair election. And I'm only going to serve 2 terms. And I have it in writing. And I'm not going to take the salary stipend. I'm a true volunteer. See, these are the lies that they've been saying about me for years. Here's the thing. They said that, Richard can't work with nobody and that he's just here to split the vote. And then Miguel left Yvonne. Now he's splitting Yvonne's votes with himself and his team versus her team. The MTC lied and said that I'm just here to split the vote and I can't work with no one. Why did Tony leave their team? How can they unite other people when they're not even united?
Right.
See, these are, when I get done, I'm gonna do some more videos. Well, you guys know that already. So, and I talked about this earlier. They're saying that I can't work with anyone, but that's a lie. I mean, they can't even work with each other. Think about this. Tony, you're endorsing these 3 on MTC, but yet you couldn't stay with them to work with them, but yet you want to endorse them, but they couldn't endorse you. See, here's the politics of it all. But these slates, he's endorsing these 3, but he had to leave them because Kevin was prejudiced. He didn't want to see Tony run for president, but he's still endorsing these 3. But they can't turn around and endorse him because they're running with Sophia. How is that unity? How is that creating unity? But like I've always told people, this is how God shows you on people's actions. I've been consistent from 2015, 2018, and here in 2021. They have not been consistent. But the way they can make their argument and sell it, it's very appealing to people who are gullible, people who just are looking for anything to grab onto. And this is why, a funny thing, MTC was trying to recruit me to be part of their team and replace Kevin Miniger in 2019 and 2020. See, that's the rest of the story that I haven't gone deep into yet on Facebook. So they never had unity to begin with. They were trying to replace him. And I told Sophia, Kevin doesn't care for me, and I won't disrespect Kevin like that. I said, you have a team. You have a good team. You have a rock solid team. Keep your team in play. Keep your team together. So while they're saying that I can't work with anybody, they can't work with each other. Remember, that salary stipend information came out on MTC because Sophia ratted them out. So that tells you about their loyalty and their teamwork. But it also tells you that they mimic the behavior of Yvonne Walker, because Miguel Cordova and some of his people he's running with who are her staunchest, strongest supporters outside of Tamika Robinson and Margarita Maldonado. And now they've left Yvonne. So they can't even work together. No, so it's how they want to criticize me and say, I can't work with anyone. When I tell you, I'm for all represented employees. They're just for dues-paying members who believe like them, who support the Democrats, who support their politics. I'm for everybody because this contract represents everybody, but they don't feel the same way. In fact, our union tells you, if you're not a dues-paying member and something else happens outside of that contract, we don't want to represent you. That's wrong. To me, that's just clearly wrong because they still control your wages and working conditions. Okay, I'm talking too much.
Yeah. So we're glad we wanted to let you speak on that, and thank you for that, and thank you for coming on. We're past the hour point, so we're gonna be wrapping. If you have anything else, Frank.
Yeah, thank you very much, Richard, for coming on. Like we said, this podcast has been put out there to build union strength and to have conversations. And the only way we can do that is by getting people on. So the invitation is there. And if you'd like to take the challenge to come on, we'd like to have you. So email talkshop1000@gmail.com. And we hope to hear from you. If you're watching this video, like and share it, move it around the union, and get the conversation going on union issues and on Richard's campaign.